Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And very good evening to you. Warm welcome to Newsline Live. And of course, we are broadcasting from the Newsfirst studios in downtown Colombo. And Newsline, as well as Newsfirst, are proud members of the Capital Maharaja Group. Now then, this evening, my guest is an academic from the Open University of Sri Lanka, senior lecturer in media and communication studies. And he's right here with me, Dr. Mahim Mendis. Very good evening to you, Doctor.
Very good evening.
Now then, as a person who's senior lecturer in media and in communication studies and in communications, what bothers you most about this proposed broadcasting authority?
There is no scope for communication without democracy. Democracy has been undermined severely over and over again. And as media academics, we need to be extremely concerned about the future of the democratic journey in this country. Unless we take steps, especially as academics, we consider it a must that we take steps to mobilize the people, the academic community, the civil and political society in order to ensure that threats to freedom of expression are neutralized.
Now, Dr. Mahim, that was very, very well delivered, if I may say so. And it sounded very, almost as though you were on a political platform, which unfortunately you can't be because the government in their wit and in their wisdom have not called for elections, money has not been released, and all sorts of excuses and damned excuses. But apart from that delivery, what specifically bothers you about what is being proposed?
The most important thing is that a group of people, 5 members, can be appointed into this authority by the president, who will almost have a monopoly on what should be disseminated to the people.
Well, in this bill, these 5 members, will they have security of tenure?
Well, if they want, they can resign, but for 5 years, they have the term of office, and the president, they are accountable basically to the president.
But the president is, they are there at his pleasure, meaning that there is no security of tenure.
Yes, as long as they fulfill the obligations, the expectations of a government that has come with a draconian piece of legislation.
So where's the independence of it? It's supposed to be an independent body for the betterment of the film and television industry. Where is the independence?
We are not talking about on the same lines as the Public Service Commission, the independent commissions that we have been talking about, the Right to Information Commission and so on. We are not talking about a national independent media commission. We are talking about a regulatory authority which has nothing to do with the stakeholder interests in democracy.
Then whose interest is this regulatory body going to be acting?
Very clearly, the regulatory body will ensure that the interests of the present regime. When you say the present regime, we are talking about a regime without a proper mandate, an executive, the government led by an executive which has no mandate. Rejected by the people in 25 districts in 9 provinces.
Let's get this, for sake of clarity. What do you mean by that they have no mandate? Of course they have a mandate. They were elected by the people, the 225, and they are there, and the people elected them. Because you say, and I say, and I may say, and everybody else says, Ndara Galea, doesn't mean that they have no mandate.
The parliament has 134 members, the Pohotua MPs, who have elected as a result, as I believe, as a flawed position in the second Republican Constitution, a man who has been rejected in every single electorate in the country. He was not even a member of the national list. He appointed himself, he went to parliament, and in the context of an unprecedented national uprising, he took oaths. Well, the Constitution has allowed that.
The Constitution is absolutely clear. The appointment of our president is entirely constitutional.
Entirely constitutional, unethical, immoral, illicit. This is not in line with the spirit
That's your
of
view.
democracy.
That's your view.
Of course, that is my view.
Yes, but it's not tested amongst the people.
As a citizen of a democracy, I will always be loyal to the benchmarks of democracy. The Constitution permits something that goes against the spirit of democracy. Well, as a citizen, I cannot be satisfied with that.
But Dr. Mendis, if you are so, as you say, why is it that nobody, as far as I know, has been to the Supreme Court asking for an interpretation on this very matter?
That which is flawed, if something that is flawed permits a situation like this to arise, like in the case of people crossing over, being elected from one party, crossing over to another party against the mandate given by the people.
But
if that is, one second, if that is permitted by the Constitution, what type of Constitution are we talking about? Is it a democratic Constitution?
But if you are unhappy, and if you, in your view, and your people like-minded as you, if they're unhappy and they feel that, like you said, your words, that it's flawed, then surely the most gallant thing to do would be to petition the Supreme Court.
If the law has permitted, there is nothing that can be done. The people of this country, through the uprising, before the uprising, very clearly wanted, even during the Yahapalana government, 2015 to 2019, to ensure that they put an end to all these things that go against the spirit of democracy. The Constitution has to be amended. All that permits matters that make a curse to the people in a democracy should be removed. Constitutional amendments are meant for that. If there is anything flawed, that has to be removed.
But honestly, Dr. Mendis, you don't seriously expect the Supreme Court to wake up one morning and say, guess what, we're going to start looking at this matter. They have to be petitioned. Why is it that nobody has gone there? Why is the SJB silent on that? Why is the NPP silent? Why is Mr. Sumandran silent? Why are all these legislators who make up the combined opposition, why are they not doing anything legally about it?
Let me repeat again. More than going to the Supreme Court and petitioning, of course, I myself is a petitioner in a different case in the Supreme Court against bankrupting of the nation.
Well, let's deal with this problem.
What I'm trying to say is we have to be very, very realistic. We have to ensure our members of parliament should ensure that they bring the political parties within the democratic stream, they really care for the future of democracy, should ensure that constitutional amendments are brought in order to protect the spirit of democracy. This presidency goes against the spirit of democracy. Crossing over from one side to another goes against the spirit of democracy. Without wasting time,
with all due respect to the existing president, he didn't start this stuff about the crossovers. It's a separate matter, and there's never been proper resolution on that. But I'm asking you the question again. Why is it that the Supreme Court hasn't been petitioned on the so-called what did you call it, flawed constitution that permits this president to be where he is?
Well, what I can say is, as an ordinary citizen,
and the lecturer on
my position is that we as academics, we have addressed this matter over and over and over again, that what is flawed in the Constitution should be eliminated. If the political parties have not gone to the Supreme Court to challenge these things, that is a different matter.
I mean, they won't go to challenge themselves.
I cannot be speaking on behalf of them.
No, but they're not going to challenge themselves. It's up to civic-minded people to do that. And as you know, the Supreme Court's full of such cases and such petitions. But none of the people who are saying this have gone to do something legally about it. If the Supreme Court finds, then that's fine. But nobody has gone there.
Well, I do not disagree. I fully agree. All what I can say is that in line with what you said, if the people have not gone to the Supreme Court on that, well, unfortunate. But it is very, very...
Unfortunate for whom? For you, me, and the cameraman and everybody in our control room.
Well, we need a dynamic, a politically more conscious, democratic citizenry. We need a more dynamic, awakened citizenry who can address these issues. And there is indifference and apathy. Apart from what happened in the uprising, it is very clear that this is a society that is burdened with indifference and apathy to that which is wrong, that which is immoral, unethical.
Right. Well, that is the viewpoint of Dr. Mahim Mendis, who is my guest this evening on Newsline Live. Before we go into a break, can I ask you this? What do you have to say? We have a man who is the president, who lost his own seat. His party managed to get one bonus seat because of the quirks in our constitution, our electoral laws. And then 9 months later, he nominates himself and he gets in there. And a bunch of MPs, 134, unfortunately the number of the bus that also serves the National Hospital in Angola, right, 134, get that right?
134.
But he ends up as the president. He, by his own admission, time and time again, President Wickremesinghe says that he came into this position to save this country's economy. What on earth is he doing, twiddling and trying to mess about with the media? What do you think? Can you speculate what his intention is? Because you can't obviously say what's in his head.
Very clearly, the position taken by Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, the current president, is a position that he should not be taking. Because at the parliamentary elections, the general elections, whatever that the United National Party put forward as a program for the people, for social, economic, political, cultural, moral development of the people, had been rejected. A man with a rejected program cannot be claiming arrogantly what he has claimed. He has no business to claim what he claimed.
Thank you, Dr. Mahim Mendis. He's in conversation with me live on Newsline, Newsline Live, of course. And it's now time to listen to the headlines from the wonderful primetime news team out there. And we'll see you on the other side of the break, in which we will be talking about a decision made in 1997 by none other than the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
Vocational Training Authority officer held by Police Narcotics Bureau died due to blunt force trauma. court orders of immediate arrest of those responsible. What happened to the firearms issued to MPs and ministers?
කොතනක හරි දත්තයන් තියෙනවද දුරකාල අහෝසුනෙන් පස්සේ මහජන නියෝජිතයන්ගේ ගිනියවි බාර දුන්නද කියලා අපිට මේ මෑතකදී කොහෙවත් මේ බලපත්‍රය සමග නිකුත් කරපු අවියක් යම් කිසි ක්‍රියාදාමයකට යෙදුවා කියලා නම් වාර්තා වෙලා නැහැ.
Ruling on petition against Diana Gambige's seat postponed. More SLPP MPs appointed to sectoral oversight committees. Cabinet green light for regulatory body for the film and television industry. Water levels of Kalu, Gin and Nilbala rivers rising. Warning issued over a low depression and tremor experienced in Gampola. Price of 60 essential medicines to drop from 15th June.
When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Darden's Heart Centre, dedicated to you.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali on TV1.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with Dr. Mahim Mendis from the Open University of Sri Lanka. He's a senior lecturer on media and communications, so he must know a thing or two. After all, he's instructing our young men and women who want to end up in the media and in communications. I wonder, Dr. Mahim Mendis, is that foolish of them, considering what's going on with media? Is that foolish of them to try and pursue a career in media and in communications?
For whom to pursue?
For your students. I mean, shouldn't they be doing something else? Because this is so draconian. It's completely untrue. Let me just go back, because I promised to go back to 1997. Here we go. This is what Chief Justice G.P.S. De Silva and Justice Amarasinghe and Justice Ramanathan held. The regulatory body envisaged by the bill clearly lacked that independence, since its members were government appointees with no security of tenure, and it was obliged to follow directions given by the minister. Moreover, the bill would empower the minister to interfere with the presentation of programs and commercial advertising, which would undermine the principles of fairness, infringe the public right to information, and deprive certain broadcasters of sponsorship income on a legally unaccepted discriminatory basis. So, if anyone here is thinking that this is actually very fair, well, think again, because at some point you may need someone on your side to highlight your case of injustice. It's that classic case of, and then they came for me. And it might happen. So I say to you, Dr. Mahim Mendis, Minister Bandula Gunawardena, Cabinet spokesperson, he dared compare this proposed body, broadcasting body, with the regulatory mechanism that is in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Is there any connection between that and here, what they're proposing here?
I don't know from where Mr. Bandula Gunawardena got that information. He should understand very clearly that the United Kingdom hasn't got a government-appointed regulatory body for the media. There is the British Press Complaints Commission, which is representative of all the stakeholders, and it is not a body that is dominated by the government. Probably he's thinking about the Press Council Act long time ago during Mrs. Sirimavu Bandaranaike's government, and he thought about that. and then he says that UK has a body similar to what we had in the 1970s called the Press Council. We do not have a we have a press council, they have restored it again. But the Press Complaints Commission in Sri Lanka was inspired by the British Press Complaints Commission, and that is not a government-appointed, monopolized body. That comes from the newspaper industry itself.
So, clearly, if this government is so insistent on going this route, and they seem to do it all the time, wasting their time, instead of looking at the shortages of medicine, for example. A few days ago, I found myself at the cancer unit of the Karapitiya hospital in Galle. Well, what a tragedy that was. In the cancer wing, in both the female and the male wing, more than often, the beds were two to a bed, 2 patients to a bed, top and tailing. This is no picnic. This is a serious illness. And at least give them the dignity and some modicum of comfort by giving them at least 1 bed to themselves. No, it was 2. And the corridors were also had patients lying on the floor, having bought their own mats. Is this how a democratic government is going to look after its people? Some of those people probably voted for these politicians. Adding insult to injury, when it came to taking the chemotherapy treatment, patients were told that they didn't have any, and they'd have to go and rely on the wonderful Cancer Research Society of Sri Lanka. Needing 245 milligrams, they were given 100. So what do? Is there any point in getting 100 when the doctor says you need 145? Oh no, but if you trot along to a private chemist outside, you can buy it. 22,000 rupees for the balance. Really? I thought we had a national health service, free to the people of Sri Lanka. But no, these politicians waste their time doing this, that and the other in pursuit of power, in pursuit of telling lies and lies and more lies to the public. And then the public die. And what can they do? Oh, they're not even bothered. I'd like to know when the Minister of Health last visited the cancer unit of the Karapitiya hospital. I'd just like to ask, I'm sorry about this rant, but a rant it has to be, because the bottom line is that the 225, and this is a question, so you can actually come in, but the 225, I suggest that they are unfit for purpose. Would you agree that they are unfit for purpose?
Well, as a habitual practice, the people always undermine the parliamentarians. But what is most significant is that a government should have long-term public policy very clearly defined in the interests of the people, for the common good of the people, whether it be the health sector, whether it be education, whether it be transport, whether it be media, there has to be proper public policy formulation. So, we need accountable government. When we don't have a government accountable to the people, and to make matters worse, not properly mandated by the people, as in the case of the current holder of executive office, well, matters get even further deteriorated, because the people find that the rulers are not accountable, and also the rulers. The president knows that he is not accountable to the people, but he has not got a mandate. So, it is in such a context.
But as His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit said on my program, he said the Catholic Church hasn't forgotten. And when this president ceases to be the president, because after all he can't be president forever, no matter what, whereas the Catholic Church has been around for a while and it's likely to be around for even further. Therefore, he said, when the president is no more the president, the Catholic Church will be holding him accountable as well as the others already held in terms of the non-delivery, performance-wise, in terms of the Easter tragedy. So, Dr. Mahim Mendis, what happens when you shut down the media? And I think if I'm able to read this, which has been kindly sent to me, a lot of people are familiar with this, but thank you for sending it to me. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Do you think that's about going to happen in Sri Lanka? You get rid of the media, the independent media, the truly independent media, not the pseudo-media, independent media, because there's a big difference between the real independent media and the pseudo, so-called independent media.
Well, they have every reason now, in the context of the current political culture, they have every reason to kill the independent media. Media as a watchdog, the fourth estate, has no role to play, as they think, in the current context. But it is a curse to those without a mandate. If it is a curse to those without a mandate have every reason to bring the type of legislation that they have proposed right now.
Thank you, Dr. Mahim Mendis. When you were talking about that, a thought came to my mind. And I'm glad that you mentioned it, because we need to remind people. This killing off has been going on forever. The killing to stay in power, the killing to obtain power is nothing new. It's been going on for a long time. Mr. Prabhakaran, he did it too. And so did so many others. The state has also had its own fair share. Let's look at the unresolved murders of the journalists who were attacked and killed. Prageet Eknaligoda. Not even a fraction of his dental records have been found, ever. But there is a group of people who clearly know what happened to Prageet Eknaligoda. And what about our friend of this channel, the outspoken journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge? What happened to him? Is anyone saying anything? All we've had is lies, lies and more lies. We had President Rajapaksa who assured, President Minder who assured an independent inquiry. Really, it's so many years. The Wickrematunge family is still waiting. And without the media, Dr. Mahim Mendis, this is the last few seconds, do you think that the public would be informed of all these devilments without an independent media?
Absolutely not. If there is no independent media, and at a time like this, with all the draconian actions, legislation that is proposed, if the community of journalists in this country and also those who care for democratic media culture in this country do not unite against authoritarianism, we will not only not have media, we will not have a proper existence. Our lives will become a curse to ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mahim Mendis. That we've run out of time. And that's the way it was on Newsline Live this evening. We were talking to Dr. Mahim Mendis, of course, And it's now time for the Primetime News. But before I say, have a great evening as much as you can. And God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.